to Brews&Boxing, episode 7. Gentlemen, 7 episodes in. Always a pleasure to be with you guys, as always. With me, as always, is Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. How about yourself? How about Jimmy James?
Well, you know, with us, as always, as well, is the judge, Jimmy James.
Welcome, gentlemen. Good to see you again.
Man, a few words. Guys, enjoying yourselves today? It was beautiful outside. I hope you guys went out and got dirty outside a little bit. I did a little gardening today, which you guys know me well. It's really hard for me to do. So I didn't kill anything yet, but, you know, hey, it is what it is.
It's all right.
All right, you guys ready to get into Brews and News?
Let's do it.
All right, let's ring that bell. All right, Brews and News. First thing we have to do always is crack a brew because that's part of the name of the show and part of the name of the segment. So, Brews and News, gentlemen, crack that brew. Oh, that's good stuff. All right. Brews and News. First thing we want to get into, boys, is we touched a little bit about it last week, how Mike Tyson was talking about possibly coming back at 54, 56. He's in his mid-50s. I know that. I think it's 54. To fight some charity fights. Well, that got the news out, and apparently a guy in Australia wants to give Tyson $1 million for his charity to fight 3-round fights against some Australian footballers turned boxers. Filthy Rich, any thoughts on Mike Tyson fighting these guys, and how much are you willing to pay to watch that?
All right, don't make me embarrass Jimmy James on his cheapskatiness. I am going to pay because I know it is going to charity. Let's get that out of the way first and foremost. As far as Tyson, I believe he's 53 years old, and I believe he is knocking anyone out who is not a boxer. I think people underestimate boxers in general. I'm taking a 53-year-old Tyson over anybody. Give me a guy in his 20s or 30s who played some professional sport. I am taking Mike Tyson. I remember when, I don't want to say any names, but we'll put them on blast here for fun. Marcellus Wiley said that he could beat James Toney, an old James Toney, and he got laughed at. There was also a time in studio, a bantamweight or flyweight, some little dude was in office or whatever you would call it with Marcellus, and he said he would knock Marcellus out. Do not sleep on these guys. These guys, I will take a boxer any day of the week in a boxing match.
Judge Jimmy James, how about yourself?
I mean, Australian football, those are rugby players. They are going to be some tough people, that's for sure. But I got to agree with Rich. I mean, they can be as tough as they want, but this is a boxing match, not a UFC match, not a bare-knuckle boxing match, like not a bare-knuckle match, none of this stuff. Like, this is actual boxing. Tyson's going to wipe the floor with pretty much anybody. I mean, I'd even say even against a lot of the boxers nowadays, he'd probably do some big-time damage from the videos that I've seen. I'm very impressed with how good he still is at 53 years old.
Well, as I say, he's got some hurting bombs in them hands. But you said something, Rich, that intrigued me there. You said he could take on any athlete in boxing that isn't normally a boxer. That made me think. You think he could beat Conor McGregor in a boxing match right now?
I hope there's a soundbite with the drum. Boom, boom. Yes, he destroys Conor McGregor. It's not close.
Yeah.
I guess an exception to the rule. I mean, you do reach an age where you can't fight anymore. Look at Muhammad Ali. He was in a wheelchair. So Tyson is not even close to that. You've seen the videos. We've all seen the videos. He is hitting really hard. He is in great shape. This old retired boxer still beats anybody else, anyone who's not a boxer in the sport of boxing.
Judge Jimmy James, you beat Conor McGregor?
Yeah. Easily, man. I mean, McGregor can do all the hammer punches and behind the head punches he wants. That's not going to slow down Tyson. That's going to make him more angry, and he's probably going to end up with 2 ears missing if he does that stuff. So you better watch out for that. But yeah, he would beat the crap out of McGregor. McGregor is nothing in the boxing world.
Well, the one thing that you'd have to worry about with Tyson at that age is his lungs. How long is he going to be able to last? If he doesn't knock out a guy in the first 3-4 rounds, yeah, if it's a 3-round exhibition, he's gonna kill these guys. But if it's a 10-round fight, how good's his lungs really going to be after round 4?
Well, you look at his physique a year ago, and look at his physique now.
Yeah, he's cutting.
He had a beer belly a year ago,
yeah.
and now he is physically fit, like cut.
Yeah,
I don't think he has any problems with them pipes. No problems.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. As I said, I'd love to see him come out in the Mike Tyson mystery jumpsuit to the ring. I'd pay extra for it. Final question on that: how much would you pay for that pay-per-view, Judge Jimmy James? You drop $100?
I can't. Sure, I'll drop $100. Richie, I'll drop $100 because it's for charity. It's a charity fight. So, yeah, I'll drop $100 on it.
All right. Well, you guys see that, Tyson, if you guys can get that thing going, you got $300 right here for us. Each of us will do it from our house because we can't get together. But maybe we'll live stream it or something. That'd be great. That'd be fun to watch. All right. Second thing we're going to talk about here. Jamal Charlo wants to move up to fight Benavidez. What are you guys' thoughts on Charlo moving up to the super middleweight division? Jimmy James, we'll start with you this time.
Well, it's interesting because Jamal Charlo is definitely the better of the two brothers, in my opinion. He's unbeaten. The interesting thing of why he wants to move up is because he said the division that he's in right now is cleared out of big names. And the only big name left is Triple G at 38. Right. That's what he says. He wants to go up to 168 to fight Benavidez and then to fight Canelo Alvarez. Essentially, that's his biggest thing, is he wants to do that. I mean, that's more power to him, man, if that's what he wants to do. But I think there's people that he can still beat in his division to make a name for himself bigger than what he already has. So, I mean, he's talking mad trash, and he's coming up hard to this the 168 to the super middleweight. And
does he beat Benavidez? Do you think?
I think it's gonna be a good fight. Right. I think you should watch that fight. I think it would be a headliner fight.
Would it be a fight of the week?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it could be if we were doing future fights of the week. But yeah, I mean that would be a good fight to watch. That would be tough for me to judge right now. But
Filthy Rich, your thoughts on Charlo moving up to fight to 168?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that was just said. If there's anything I could add to it, Jermell may be wanting to move up. Maybe that's what it really is. Maybe Jermell wants to go up to 160, and I don't think that the two of them are not going to get in the ring together. I think that's why fair. Jermell moved up to begin with. They also, obviously, they share the same trainer who also trains a guy who may be wanting to move up as well. And maybe this is just one big conspiracy. Maybe I'm trying to find a bunch of dots and connect them, and they're not really there. But Errol Spence may be wanting to move up to 154. Maybe that's the case, where none of these guys want to really fight each other. Going to the question, I don't even know what the question is. But as far as like Benavidez and Charlo go, who do I take to win? We touched on this last week or 2 weeks ago, where I mentioned you don't go up a division and fight the top name right away. You get yourself comfortable at that weight. So, no, you don't fight Benavidez your debut at 168. Get comfortable with the gatekeepers of the division first. Then go on and fight Benavidez. I don't know how old Charlo is, but Benavidez is still a young guy. He has a long career left. So you do have to get that fight out of the way eventually. I would say in a year, maybe 2 years. 2022 sounds like a pretty good date to fight him. I wouldn't fight him right away. Who do I have winning? Again, you got to be comfortable in that division. Let's see how he does first. Right now, I'll take Benavidez if they were to step in the ring at 168. But 2021, 2022, I might have a different song to sing.
Yeah, it's interesting, James, that you brought up that he would move up and fight Canelo at 168 when they're both technically middleweights as well. I know Canelo's the king of the catchweight, but what's the advantage you think of him fighting him at 168 as opposed to at the middleweight?
I don't think there's an advantage. To be honest, I think that's a poor move. If you want to fight Canelo, you want to fight him at a lower weight. Mm-hmm. Even though he does seem a little slower at once when he moves up in weight, that not enough, man. And the fact of the last fights that Canelo has fought, I would want to fight him. I would want to drain him of weight to try to fight him, as opposed to letting him gain weight, just one weight class. I don't think it's a benefit at all. But I mean, Charlo's 29. He's got to make some fights now. I mean, what, 7 more years on his clock? He's got to fight people now. So I
10, 12 fights left in front of him, I'd imagine.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any advantage for him fighting Alvarez at 168. I think that benefits Alvarez more than anybody.
Filthy Rich, how about you? What's your thoughts on catchweight Canelo?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't think moving up to fight Canelo works to his advantage. He stays at 160. We know that there's going to be a catchweight clause somewhere in there. The only way to land this Canelo fight is catching Canelo on the downhill. I think we need to see Canelo lose a fight here or there, and then he's going to be desperate for a big fight, and that's when you land Jermall Charlo. I don't think it's a smart move to chase Canelo. Let Canelo come at you. Keep knocking out the guys in front of you. Don't worry about Canelo. It will come. Give it time. But yeah, don't move up. There'll be a catch. He's the catchweight queen. He is gonna get. There's gonna be a catchweight fight. At least for the dollars involved, anyways.
Yeah. It's hopefully that fight that he's coming off a loss of is to Triple G. But that's the last time I'll talk about that. I mean, that'd be great. I'd love to see Triple G talking about it. I want to see that. We all want to see it. Go Golovkin. Do the big drama show for us all one last time. All right, last thing I got to touch on in the Brews and News here is that Jacobs wants to fight Callum Smith or Billy Joel Saunders. Filthy Rich, what fight fits Jacobs the best, and which fight do you want to watch? Are they the same?
So this is pretty tough because I think Jacobs holds its own with both those guys. I think he could beat both those guys. I think he could also lose to both those guys. If I'm Danny Jacobs, I think I take the Callum Smith fight. I think there's more money in a Callum Smith fight. I think it's easier to be made. I believe they're both with Matchroom. So that fight can be made. That's the money fight. All these rankings on websites and whatnot have Callum Smith as the number one guy, which we will be getting into here in a little bit. If I'm Danny Jacobs, I take the Callum Smith fight. Billy Joe Saunders at some point will fall into his lap. I think he beats them both. I think he can lose them both. Kind of don't know where this is going, but this is pretty big if you ask me.
Which fight do you want to see more?
Personally, I think Billy Joe Saunders puts on a better show, so I'll watch Saunders and Jacobs.
All right, Judge Jimmy James, what do you think about Jacobs fighting Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders? Who do you want to see him fight, and who do you think he has a better chance against?
Well, both of those fights can definitely happen. 100%. They need to happen for this weight class. As far as I got to agree with Rich, he could win both those fights. He could lose both those fights. I'm not going to go too much into it right now because what we got coming up. But Smith and Saunders are two different style fighters. Jacobs also a different style fighter. So you got technically three different style fighters here. But if I wanted to see a fight between Jacobs and those two, I would want to see Jacobs fight Saunders. I got to agree with Rich. Like I said, I'm not going to get too far into it right now, but Billy Joe Saunders against Jacobs, I would like to see that. I think that would be a very entertaining fight. Might even be a super surprise at the outcome, but Jacobs.
Who do you got in that fight then? Who do you got in that fight?
Like I said, it's tough. I'm not going to go too much into it. I'd probably have to side with Jacobs.
All right. Well, we won't push you too much because Judge Jimmy James is coming off a loss of Filthy 5 last week. And this week, as he mentioned, we are doing super middleweight. So these guys are a lot of super middleweight. So I think we covered the news pretty good, so I think we should just get into the rematch, part 2, Judge Jimmy James versus Filthy Rich in the Filthy 5. Let's ring that bell. All right. Filthy 5 super middleweights we're talking this week. Filthy Rich coming off a win last week, his first win in the Filthy 5, the game named after him, his first win out of 3. So that means we all have 1 victory under our belts, and I'm going to retire undefeated, just so you guys know.
Oh my God!
We'll find a way to knock you off your horse.
I'm the Mayweather of that division.
Live.
Maybe we'll bring in somebody that I can totally beat, just so I can keep I'll be the Mayweather of this division.
Oh.
All right, as defending champ, Judge Jimmy James, you can go first with your number 5. Give me your number 5 super middleweight.
I'm not the defending champ.
I am the last.
I'm sorry, you are not the defending champ. You are.
That's Rich. I'm going to have to
Rich
defer.
Is the defending champion.
I'm going to have to defer to Filthy Rich. So, Filthy Rich, you can go ahead with your number 5.
I just want to point out, Filthy Rich, the reason I said that is that check did not clear yet. That you
You're killing me.
Got a hold on it. I don't know what that's about.
Don't you know what Venmo is?
So I apologize on that. Filthy Rich, you are the defending champion. What is your number 5?
I'll send you another with interest. So here's what, Jimmy James, if you need to get in here, let me know. But I do not have Gilberto Ramirez on this list. Last I checked, he moved up to light heavyweight. Had he stayed at this division, he'd definitely be on this list. Jimmy James, before I go to my number 5, is there anybody else we're omitting that I'm forgetting?
No.
I assume we're omitting Canelo. We're not putting Canelo on.
Well,
Canelo, right.
No, I'm not gonna put Canelo on there.
How about Charlo? Charlo, we're getting Charlo out of there too. He hasn't fought there yet.
Right.
No, he's not. He hasn't fought there. I mean, so technically, because he hasn't fought there, Ramirez was still in my consideration because he hasn't fought at light heavyweight. He literally moved up before all this pandemic happened. So I can adjust my list to exclude him. Not a problem. So yeah, we can definitely exclude him out of the list.
All right, we'll exclude him.
He would be on my list.
He is excluded.
Okay, well, I excluded him. If what you got to do, you got to do. I'm not putting him on mine. And, for the fan out there, for the casual viewer, for the diehard, we're trying to get the casual viewer back into this, and I get why we're fighting and, like, all this stuff, why you don't like the sport. I guess with that said, breaking down the 168 division, the super middleweight division, my number 5 is Callum Smith. I mentioned this just minutes ago about how he is ranked at number 1 in all of these expert polls. I don't know what people are watching. I feel that it is process of elimination. They see everybody else on this list, and they say, well, it can't be him because of this reason and that reason, and it can't be this guy because of these other reasons. Straight up, I don't know how Callum Smith is number 1 in all these power rankings we got all over these websites. I'm not going to throw any names out there. His only impressive, I don't know if it's impressive, he beat an old, washed-up George Groves. Other than that, what have you done for me? You have not really done anything. You haven't beat anyone at 168. But you do, like, Callum Smith has it like, he comes from the Fighting Smith family with Liam and Steven and, like, the 5 brothers, and they're all boxers, and I get it. So he's been boxing his entire life, and maybe that's why he's been considered number 1 on all these polls. But in the poll that matters, the Filthy 5 poll, the one that matters, he is number 5, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy James, Raider Live, send it to Jimmy James.
I gotta jump in here real fast because I was a little worried listening to the news that you guys were very agreeable with each other today, kind of like last week where you guys were agreeing on a lot of things. Then you dropped the Callum Smith at number 5 bomb on all of us. Judge Jimmy James nearly had a heart attack. So I feel like Judge is not going to have Callum Smith at 5. I feel like our list may be different here this week, which is going to be a little fun. All right, Judge Jimmy James, you heard Filthy Rich's argument on Callum Smith at 5. Who do you got at number 5? Is it Callum Smith?
Oh, these lists are different. I do not have Callum Smith at number 5. At number 5 for me on my Filthy 5 list, I have Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is a belt holder, 20-0, 12 knockouts. He beat what? I don't know how to say his name. Uzcategui. How do you say that, Filthy?
Uzcategui.
Uzcategui. So he beat Uzcategui. He is a good fighter. I think that might be one of his only losses, but Plant's a slippery fighter. He's got decent skill. He still needs a big name fight to prove himself. I'm not too impressed with him. He's kind of a showboat. He's going to get clocked when he's showboating in one of these fights, but still, he does have some skill. He's only 27. He's still young. A lot of people have him a lot higher on these lists. I got him just barely breaking the top 5, and this is still a tough choice for me to put him at that 5 because I would put some other people at this number 5 position too. But I have Caleb Plant at my number 5.
Well, you guys really going on a limb here saying, forget the experts, we're the experts here. And I like that. I love that a lot, actually. Filthy Rich going way outside the box with Callum Smith at 5. And then Judge Jimmy James following up with another guy who was highly rated on very many rankings. I see him at top 3, top 2 in a lot of rankings as well. And you got him at 5. So that's very interesting. I'd be interested to see how this list turns out. Judge Jimmy James, what's your number 4? And we'll go from there.
Ooh, so this one, you ain't going to agree with this one, Rich. I can almost bet, but this one, I spent a lot of time on this. And on this one, like I said, this is my list. But I'm putting Benavidez as number 4. So David Benavidez is my number 4. 22-0, 19 knockouts. Obviously, one of my fight of the week. Beat Gavril twice. Also beat Anthony Durrell, another contender for a top 5. Was holding the belt at one point. Benavidez has massive power. He does need some polishing with some of his skills, but he's got good size, decent speed. I mean, he's going to challenge anyone in this division, and he is super, super young. I mean, he is the future of this division right now, if he stays in this division. But even with beating Gavril and Durrell, he needs to fight somebody bigger like a Saunders or a Jacobs. Plant, Ramirez, if he wouldn't have moved up, like something like that. If I would have seen him fight somebody like that and destroy him like he's been destroying people, he'd probably jump all the way to number 1 on this list. But as I see it right now, he's got massive potential. Could be number 1. I got him at number 4, David Benavidez.
All right. I like it. You guys are going way outside the box on this one. This is why my show, or our show, I should say, Filthy Rich's
your show, Raider Live. It's your show.
We call it Filthy Rich's show when we're in meetings, but named after him. But I love the fact that our show is the one we have the real experts here. Don't go anywhere else for experts because our experts are actually going to rank them where they're supposed to be ranked. Filthy Rich, who you got at your number 4?
Let me tell you, before I get to number 4, just to let everyone in on our pre-show meetings, we have been talking about how we might have 5 different 5s, and we might have everything just different. This division, really, Callum Smith and David Benavidez could be number 1s on people's lists. Judge Jimmy James gives a perfect example about his youth and how he might just be too young, and a fight with Ramirez would have put him at the top. I get all that. Believe me, I'd like to know where Ramirez would have ranked on this. I'm probably missing some more stuff here, but for my number 4, I have got David Benavidez. Number 4. I can't believe we matched up on something here.
Seriously?
I kind of echo all your thoughts. He's beaten some. I don't know how to put it, but they're not washed up guys, but they're guys who are coming off losses or gatekeepers, like the Durrells and the Jalen Loves and Ronald Gavril and an old Rogelio Medina, Porky Medina. He should be winning these fights. He does have the footwork and the speed. I think he lacks a bit of defense. Personally, I think he beats Callum Smith, and that's why I have him at number 4. One more time, any one of these 5 guys could be number 1. I have him number 4 because he beats Callum Smith, my opinion.
Yeah, this might be one of the best divisions of parity that we've done so far because when I was looking at and doing my own personal list, which I'm going to point out, don't match your guys' lists at all at this point. This is going to make it a little harder to judge. My tiebreaker a lot of times, who's closest to my list. I don't know how I'm going to pull this one up, but you guys both make fantastic points. Now I want to change mine. Filthy Rich, what do you got at your number 3?
Oh, boy. I wonder. I feel like, look, as easily as we could have not matched, there's a piece of me. No, there's no way we're going to match this. Yeah, there is. I am going Danny Jacobs at number 3. Again, let's just break this down. I think he beats Benavidez and Callum Smith. He's got bodies like Derevinchenko. He's beat Sergio Mora twice. He beat Kid Chocolate in the first round. That quick knockout. I turned it on. The fight was over. First rounder. I couldn't believe it. Go into his losses quickly. Yeah, he lost to Triple G and he lost to Canelo, who doesn't lose to those guys. But the one we all need to, a little history lesson, something we can all talk about when you go to work and say, hey, I know something from the Brews and News and Brews&Boxing and all that good stuff. When he lost to Dimitri Piro, his grandmother had died the night before. So he goes on that fight. His grandma had just died. He loses that fight. A week later, he had cancer the size of a walnut in his spine. Maybe that's why he lost. Other than that, he has 2 losses on his record. Those are losses that everyone loses to, and there's no shame in losing to those guys. He beats Benavidez today, maybe not 3 years from now. He beats Callum Smith today, and probably 3 years from now. I've got Danny Jacobs, number 3.
All right. That's kind of where I was kind of thinking. Judge Jimmy James, what do you got at 3?
Well, if you're talking about different lists, we have some very different lists. At number 3, for me personally, in this division, I've got Billy Joe Saunders. Wow. Yeah, I got BJS down there. He is a filthy human being, and I don't like him personally, morally, any of that stuff. But besides that, his boxing style, he is 30 years old. He's 29-0. He's 14 knockouts. He has only fought outside the UK, like 2 times. Another one of these only UK fighters that just drives me nuts. But he beat Chris Eubank Jr. He beat Andy Lee, Willie Monroe Jr. And he beat David Lemieux, who I thought, going into that fight, I thought Lemieux was going to knock him out in 5. And I was putting money on it. And boy, was I wrong. He made Lemieux look silly.
And Jimmy James doesn't bet very often, I'll tell you.
No. But he doesn't have a lot of power. I mean, he always dodges big name fights too, which is crazy because of how much crap he talks. His trash talk is ridiculous, but he has some extremely good ring IQ. That's the best way I can put it. He's shifty. He's got good skill. I mean, he's very, very surprising, but like I said, he dodges fighters, and he needs to have a big name other than David Lemieux or Eubank years ago, or however many years ago that was, on his resume for him to move up in this list. And he keeps saying that he's going to fight somebody. He keeps saying he's going to fight somebody. Well, you're 30 years old, man. You better, shut off the pot. You need to fight somebody now and do it. And I want to see it, because whatever fight he takes is going to be a fight I'm going to pay for and I'm going to watch. And I hope he gets knocked out. But Billy Joe Saunders, he's my number 3.
Well, speaking of big fights, he was supposed to fight Canelo Alvarez yesterday. He was supposed to fight him on Cinco de Mayo. Sadly, COVID took that out. I don't know if Canelo is going to reschedule that fight or if he's just going to have a tune-up fight before Triple G now. But that would have been the big fight, the big prove-it fight right there. If he could have beat Canelo, that would probably rocket him to number one on all your guys' lists, I'd imagine. But he tried to take a big fight. COVID screwed it all over for all of us as usual.
Another excuse.
He's got another one.
Can't win with Judge
Billy Joe
Your
Saunders
Honor.
started COVID-19 so he didn't have to fight Canelo Alvarez.
I'm done with you, Judge Jimmy James. I'm done with you.
We have a new conspiracy theory on where COVID came from. Was Billy Joe Saunders, so he didn't have to fight Canelo Alvarez.
No, I'm just kidding.
I can't wait to see that one all over Facebook tomorrow.
I'm just
If that one's all over Facebook tomorrow, we've hit big time. I'll tell you that. All right, Billy Joe Saunders at number 3. Judge Jimmy James, you have your floor for number 2.
Well, my number 2 is going to be Callum Smith. 30 years old, 27-0, 19 knockouts. Yeah, he is another one of them only UK fighters. He's only had 3 fights outside the UK. It keeps driving me nuts. He's beat George Groves, just like Richie said, some old fighters, Eric Skoglund, Rocky Fielding, some no-name old people. But what I love about Callum Smith is the fact that he is a body puncher first. He attacks the body and only attacks the body, and he loves it. If you watch his fights, what he does is damn near all of his knockdowns are all body punch knockdowns, and those are the most brutal. And you don't really see a fighter that does that anymore. Everybody goes to the head. Just go to the head. They go to the head. Nobody really hits the body. Callum Smith punches to the body first and then the head, and it is brutal. This is why I have Callum Smith up here. I think Callum Smith beats Plant. If he can hit Billy Joe Saunders, he's going to knock him down too. Benavidez would be his best fight, but I think Callum Smith, because of the fact he is such a brutal body puncher, deserves the number 2 spot on my list.
I'm going to throw my my little question out here. I've heard him called Callum Smith and Callum Smith. Is it like a British thing where, it looks like it should be Callum Smith, but I've heard him called Callum Smith too. Do we know that is it correct pronunciation?
Jimmy James knows the answer. He's in an old lady's rocking chair right now. I think he speaks that language.
I got no tea and crumpets here, man. I have no idea. I call him Callum Smith.
All right. Well, I've heard it both ways. I just don't know if he's ever said it, because you never know with some of the announcers, they can never pronounce. But it sounds like I was just curious because I've always called him Callum Smith because that's how I heard it. But maybe I'm wrong. So I don't know. It looks like Callum. It always looked. It was one of them things that's like Favre. Favre doesn't look like Favre. So.
Callum or Rose, who knows, man?
Yeah,
whatever.
all right.
Excel spreadsheet, who cares?
All right. Judge Jimmy James has Smith at number 2. I'm just going to say Smith. Filthy Rich, who do you got at number 2?
I got Mr. Sweet Hands himself, Judge Jimmy James, number 5. I got him at number 2. I have Caleb Plant at number 2.
Really?
I don't like – again, every one of these guys could be number 1. I really mean that. I have to look. I had him number 1 up until maybe this morning or even this afternoon.
Sweet Hands?
I think he beats Jacobs and Benavidez and Callum Smith. Callum, whatever we want to call him.
What do you want to call him?
I don't know what we're calling him. I have Caleb Plant, and maybe I'm kind of lost here, but I know the story with his daughter dying at like a baby's age. Like, what was he, a few weeks old or 6 months, whatever she was, and how he fought and wore his daughter's name on the trunks. Maybe it's pulling at my heartstrings a little bit, but yeah, he's beaten Jose Uzcategui and he's beaten like Medina, whatnot. Medina's washed. He was probably 40 years old during that fight. Doesn't even matter. I like his in-ring technicianship, if that's a new word, or maybe I just made it my lack of vocabulary. I get it. I'm a fight fan. I'm not a dictionary fan. Look, look, I think look, at the end of the day, I think he beats Jacobs, and I think he beats Benavidez and Callum Smith. That's how I put him here. There's not much I can add. I like his backstory. He's married to, he married Jordan Hardy recently, who's now Jordan Plant. She's the girl that does PBC fights, the in-ring interviews and stuff. She's now going by Jordan Plant, which is kind of cool. I just like this guy. I know Judge Jimmy James said, he's arrogant and he's going to get knocked out. That may be so. That's just not what I see. I see a very humble dude who goes out there with his daughter's name on his trunks and goes out there and fights in her name. And there's something about that I admire a whole lot. That's just how it is, though.
That's always very admirable. I mean, that's part of the tattoo that I got has something similar to that. But it's interesting looking at you guys' list here before we go to our number ones, because I also want to talk about, to be BAB champion, you have to be in full agreement of both people. I don't think we're going to have a champ this week, kind of looking at things. It's interesting that you guys have flip-flopped on 5 and 2. You both agreed on 4, and then for 3, you got 2 people that aren't even on the other guy's list. So, I mean, this is a very interesting list. I was looking forward to this list all week because, as I said, I wrote my own, and it's nowhere close to what your guys is here. I mean, it's like me going for the NFL draft, trying to figure out who's going to draft who. And I'm like, man, I missed on every one of these here. It made me feel a little dumber. But just in case we might have a number one, we're not going to go there yet. We're going to start with Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, who is your number one in the Super Middleweight Division?
So I think by process of elimination, we all know who I'm taking, and maybe because I just love the guy. I don't know what it was. Even by process of elimination, I think I can guess who Judge Jimmy James has at his number one. I want to say before I get into mine, I'd like to ask Your Honor, where did you have what's the guy that moved up to 175 we were just talking about? Did you have him at number one? Ramirez.
Gilberto Ramirez.
Did you have him number one?
If Ramirez was still here in this division, I would have had him 1 or 2.
Yeah, I understand.
100%. He held the title for 3 years in this division before he moved up. He definitely, if we want to really speak to it, he definitely doesn't have that many big name fights, but he's like Alvarez, where he fought 4,000 times in Mexico before he moved up, and he's only 28 years old. So he would have been 1 or 2 on my list. I would have to probably do a little more research to get it back up to define that, but 1 or 2.
Like I kind of agree with that. If he were in this division, it would just make things harder because I would probably have him at 1 or 2. I remember when Ramirez. Notice how I'm delaying my number one.
100% you are.
All this good stuff. So, yeah, I would have had him number 1 or 2. I remember when he fought. I think it was the first time I saw him was on the Mayweather-Pacquiao undercard. I'm pretty sure him and Lomachenko were – that was my first introduction to kind of these guys, and he just manhandled some dude just with that right jab, 10 or 12 rounds or whatever it was. I just kind of followed him. He was on True TV, the True TV. You know why is there fights on True TV? I watched him on True TV beat up some guy. But yeah, Gilberto Ramirez, had he been on this list, 1 or 2 sounds fair. Now to my number one guy.
Let me ask you first. Are you trying to set this all up? Are you trying to set it all up to say Aamir Khan is your number one? Is
that? I'm keeping silent for the Aamir Khan graphic because Mr.
Get it off the screen. Get it off the screen. Get it off the screen.
Aamir.
Oh no.
Number 1, I got those Saunders. Again, any one of these guys could have been number 1. I think he beats everybody underneath him. His endurance is what really put me over the edge. I think we go back to 83 or 87 sounds like the last time there was a 15-round fight. You go 15. I remember Jack Johnson fought 22 rounds. Not that I was there. I'm not that old, but They were fighting 22 rounds. They were fighting unlimited till you were knocked out. I think Billy Joe Saunders, once he jumps on that bicycle, he can go all night, and he will hit you, and his accuracy is so precise. Talk about that David Lemieux fight. My goodness.
Yeah.
He was splitting the guard every single time. Yeah, kids, yeah, I'm calling you kids. Go watch, I believe it was the 4th round of Lemieux versus Billy Joe Saunders. And Lemieux takes a swing at Saunders, misses. There it is. And Lemieux looks into the crowd to see where that punch went. After that, that's it for me. He's probably the most entertaining one on this list. I don't see anybody else beating him at this weight. Billy Joe, you're not winning this week. We'll figure something out for you. But Billy Joe Saunders, number 1, man.
All right, so we will not have a BAB champion of this week, so we're not going to follow anyone on Twitter. Actually, I will say, friend of the show, Caleb Truax, we will follow you on Twitter. We've been talking to him. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on the show here soon. We will follow him as a super middleweight. But with Billy Joe Saunders as your number 1, Filthy Rich, that means we are not going to have one because Judge Jimmy James had him at 3. Judge Jimmy James, it's a close fight right now. Who's your number 1? And give me your argument.
Well, you could probably guess by process of elimination, Rich. My number 1 in this division is Daniel Jacobs. Yes, he's 33 years old. He is the oldest one in this division. He is 36-3. He has 30 knockouts. But like Rich was saying, he has only 2 losses. Well, besides that 3rd one, which we already went over. Very good points, by the way, Rich. He lost to Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. The Triple G fight that he lost, he could have easily won that fight.
Yeah.
That was the knockdown that Triple G got against him. What to me wasn't a knockdown. 115, 113, that easily could have swayed the opposite way. The Alvarez fight, he still looked pretty damn good in that Alvarez fight, even though Alvarez is Alvarez. I mean, he he beat Caesar Salad, obviously, in his last fight. Who cares about that guy anymore? He's just done. He also beat Derevyanchenko, Sergio Mora twice. He did beat Caleb Truax, Peter Quinlan. I think that he is the best fighter at this division. He still fights the best and wants to fight the best. Granted, these are obviously, like Rich said, you could make a case for a lot of these guys at number 1. Callum Smith at number 1. BJS at number 1. Benavidez at number 1 if you really want to get crazy with it. Caleb Plant, I don't think so. Sweet hands, not that sweet to
Done
me.
with you, Jimmy James.
But either way, Daniel Jacobs, even though he's 33 years old, I still think that he is the man to beat in this division, especially with Ramirez gone. I think his 2 toughest fights are the 2 people he wants to fight, Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. He's going to have more trouble against Billy Joe Saunders than he will against Smith. But I think that he is going to beat, if he fights them this year, he will beat Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders hands down. It still might go to decision. I don't think he's going to knock anybody out by any means. But Daniel Jacobs, you still got it. At 33, you are my number 1 in my list.
Oh, wow. You guys have quite the list here. I'll tell you that.
You want me to keep talking and let you decide? Because let me tell you, I love some Danny Jacobs. I don't know if maybe it was this morning, maybe it was yesterday at some point. I had Jacobs number 1 too. Like this super middleweight division is deep, top to bottom. I don't even want to get into the names we left out, like the Caleb Truax names we have left out. Outside of that, Jacobs, again, I think it's close with him and Caleb Plant. I think it's close with him and Saunders. I think the reasons I put out there are somewhat, I'd like to think they're somewhat justified, but there's no hatred towards Danny Jacobs at number 1. I would like to even – I'm not going to. It's late. It's too late now. But I would like to change my vote to Jacobs just so we can follow him on Twitter. That's how much I like Danny Jacobs. I'm not changing it. I'm sticking with Saunders, but
we got rules. We can't change it now. What do we think we are? We're
savages.
Yeah. What do you think we're judging a Triple G Canelo fight? I mean, come on. We're not.
Oh, we're not in Las Vegas.
We're not Adelaide Bird here. We're not doing that stuff.
But no, even Benavidez was the toughest one to put at number one. But let me tell you, the guy who trolls us tomorrow on Twitter or your favorite social media network platform thing, YouTube, I don't care what it is, if he makes a case for Benavidez, I'm not going to argue that. David Benavidez is a very suitable number one as well. This was very hard to do. I'm surprised we even matched at number 4. But any one of these guys, I have no dispute. I can tell you this, Raider Live, that check should be clearing. But I'm good. Like if I take a loss here, it's like losing to Triple G or Canelo, like Jacobs did. I mean, it kind of just happens. But
well, I'm still in the middle of grading this here a little bit. I mean, it's close. I do have a question for both of you guys here. As I said, comparing it to my lists a lot of the time, I'm interested that none of you guys had Anthony Durrell on your lists at all. Is it just because he's coming off a loss to Benavidez, or do you no love for Durrell? Is he at your 6 range, or
you want to go?
I mean, personally, I got Durrell lower than that, man. I mean, you'll see a lot of these lists, like Ring Magazine's got him at 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's only got 2 losses. He's got 24 knockouts. I mean, he's not a bad fighter. I just don't agree with him being that high. I mean, he ain't anything special to me. I mean, I got Plant beating him. Any of the guys that's on my list, I got him beating. Truex would beat him. Mm-hmm. No problem. I mean, I mean, do you want to go as far to say that John Ryder would beat Durrell? Ryder, but, I'm just saying, John Ryder would probably beat Durrell, man. I don't have high expectations for Anthony Durrell. Personally, he's been on the top 10 forever for Ring Magazine, but it just he don't do nothing for me.
I remember Colin Cowherd had a thing going during the NCAA football tournament, and he had the transitional champ because this guy beat that guy who beat that guy who beat that guy who beat that guy, and that's why he, like, Idaho State is the champion. Here's
6 degrees of separation deal.
It's something like that. So, like this is one of those things where we have to play a transitional property kind of deal where Anthony Durrell lost to James DeGale. James DeGale, who beat Caleb Truex, also lost to Caleb Truex. And Caleb Truex lost to this guy. And it was kind of a transitional property thing. That's why he didn't make my list. I don't want to say he's old, but let's just say
he's 35. I mean,
wait. Are we talking about Andre or Anthony? Anthony Durrell.
Anthony Durrell.
Well, Anthony Durrell. I say he's old because he said he was retiring. He said he has one. I'm retiring after this fight. So if you are really going to retire, you're like, not to say, I just don't see a future for you if you say you're going to retire. Now, if like all these guys, how many times has Floyd retired? I don't know. It doesn't even matter. So maybe I should reconsider it, but I don't have him beating these guys. As far as Andre Durrell goes, I think I'm not going to say anything about Andre Durrell. I don't think he beats any of these 5 either.
Yeah, I was just curious because I wanted to see somebody put Durrell. Durrell was at my number 5 on my personal list.
Oh, what a crazy night, man!
Because and I wanted to hear someone talk about it because I love when you guys talk about putting a guy on there coming off a loss, because I always like listening to that style of you guys defending a guy's loss. And you guys did that already. You defended Daniel Jacobs' losses.
Damn straight I did.
So, all right.
That was me that defended the loss.
Getting to the scoring.
What's the judgment? Getting
to the scoring.
What's the
Getting
judgment?
to the scoring. I got it 48-47 yet again.
Oh, what do you mean yet again? You can't.
No, I said yet again because That's the score it's been for the last 2 weeks, is 48-47. Winning 3 rounds to 2, I got it at Judge Jimmy James winning this week. James winning 3 rounds to 2. I loved it. Congratulations, Judge Jimmy James. I don't know what the tiebreaker was. Maybe it's my hate for Billy Joel Saunders. Maybe that was what it is, just how bad a person he is. I liked both your arguments. They're both very, very solid. I love this is one of the more fun lists I think we've done, and I really liked listening to you guys. But 48-47, I got it for Judge Jimmy James winning this week. Congratulations, Judge Jimmy James. You get your 30 seconds to talk about whatever you want. Go ahead.
You know, this is a tough list. It could have went either way, Rich. Either way. You putting Smith down at 5 was a shocker for me, like a shocker. So that was crazy. I'm glad that our lists are not the same every week, and that we have different opinions and everything like that. This is fun. I have a good time. I'm glad I'm back on top, and I look forward to next week. Let's do it.
All right. Well, just to be fair, the Rich did win that round. The first round.
I don't care.
He won that.
The battle.
He won that one.
I won the war.
Yeah, that's true. So congratulations again. What a great list. Good time. And Richie, you still have time to cancel that check if you want.
Don't worry. If I get time to speak, Jimmy James, like you did you did it right. I don't think there really was a loser other than Raider Live who's not getting a check this week.
No, that's not true because now my integrity stays intact. I mean, that's what we got. I cannot be bought, but I will take the donation.
Oh, it's funny.
All right, gentlemen, that was a lot of fun. Let's move on to the 13th round. All right, 13th round this week where we talk about something other than or in sports. It doesn't necessarily have to be boxing, but this week we are talking boxing because this week was Cinco de Mayo, and Cinco de Mayo is always a giant boxing holiday. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about your favorite Cinco de Mayo fights in the history of your life. Judge Jimmy James, you won, so let's start with your favorite Cinco de Mayo fights.
My favorite Cinco de Mayo fight is an old one. Well, maybe not.
Wait a minute. Can I guess it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
You're gonna guess mine, but I mean, guess.
Well, I was gonna guess that Judge Jimmy James would say Canelo Alvarez versus Caesar Salad.
No, that was a terrible fight. That fight, I'm pretty sure I fell asleep watching because it was so boring.
I know, I was at your house.
For that, because that was ridiculous.
I was at your house for that fight.
Well, whatever, man. That was the most. That's not even a fight. We're done. We're done with that. My Cinco de Mayo fight is Floyd Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya came in as a huge favorite in that fight. He was a big dude. Mayweather was still Mayweather, of course, Money Mayweather. But De La Hoya was coming in riding high, and Mayweather put him in his place. De La Hoya tried to do exactly what De La Hoya does, but ran out of steam in the 5th round, like he always does. He never changed his game plan, and Mayweather was just ducking and dodging every single punch that he was throwing. It was crazy. That was a very good fight. I recommend watching that. If you haven't seen it, watch it. That's a good fight. That's my favorite Cinco de Mayo fight.
They fought at 154 during that fight too, if I remember right. Mayweather moved up in that fight. That was a great fight. That's a good choice. Filthy Rich, let me see if I can guess yours as well here.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna have to go. Going through my list here. It's got to be the 2016 Cinco de Mayo fight of Canelo Alvarez versus Aamir Khan. It has to be. It has to be.
Well, you win, man. You win. Raider Live, can we get you a trophy this week? Boy, you knocked it out of the ballpark this week, Raider Live. I can't believe it.
It's not Canelo. Did I nail it?
It was a close number 2.
All right, what was your favorite Cinco de Mayo?
So, look, Judge Jimmy James, I thought he was going to come with something else, so I had a number 2. So I got 2 that are going to beat him if I can get some revenge here. Look, one of the best fights in the history of this sport is, boy, why does the name escape me right now? But it is Corrales-Castillo 1 was fought Cinco de Mayo weekend. That is one of the best fights you will ever see in your entire life. I don't know how it just happened to take place on Cinco de Mayo weekend.
Did it really happen on Cinco de Mayo?
I thought for sure that was your number 1. I know De La Hoya and Floyd fought Cinco de Mayo weekend, but over the past 20 years, I went as far back as 20 years. I don't know if this was a thing over 20 years ago, but Corrales-Castillo is one of the best fights in the history of this sport. If you could just Google best fights of all time, Corrales-Castillo pops up somewhere at the top, 1, 2,
Fair
or 3.
enough.
I mean, I could see I could see a lot, like Barrera and whoever. I slip on live television. Yeah, this is a television show. Marco,
I watch it on my TV.
Eric Barrera Morales will be at the top of the list. It wasn't on Cinco de Mayo. Another fight.
Cinco de Mayo week it counts.
So yeah, I thought for sure Judge Jimmy James, who like I don't know if he's paying Raider Live, but
he's not.
I thought for sure, and maybe in post maybe I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure Corrales-Castillo 1 was a Cinco de Mayo weekend fight.
Yeah, May 7th, man, 2005. Yeah, you're 100% right. I did not.
Isn't that number? Am I right on this?
I did not. That slipped my mind, dude. That's old. Man. That's old, but that's oldie but a goodie. That's crazy.
So that is probably number 1. But Judge Jimmy James isn't far off on this because I had a number 2 ready to go, and my number 2 is Oscar De La Hoya and Ricardo Mayorga. Those two had like real life heat in backstage. Mayorga is one of them dudes that he knows how to sell a fight. I think it was like episode 1 of this Webby nominated series. I hope we get Webby nominated.
Yes.
But we talked about like something about real life drama backstage in order to sell a fight. And Mayorga, I remember when he was like making sexual advances towards Sugar Shane Mosley's wife, and like there was real backstage heat with those guys. Even with this De La Hoya and Mayorga, Mayorga was saying and doing things in public to sell this fight. I think Mayorga, I believe, last I heard a few years ago, he was like dead broke, begging De La Hoya for like a job for something. And De La Hoya, I think he's finally forgiven him, but De La Hoya wanted like 10, 15 years later, wants nothing to do with Mayorga. The two of them fighting, watch that fight. That would have been my number 2 fight to watch for this Cinco de Mayo weekend thing. But yeah, if you have to go back, even De La Hoya, Floyd, we got 3 fights for you guys to watch. If you're not going to watch them this weekend or next weekend, next year, when you can count down 20 fights, those 3 are at your top of the list. That's what I've got for this week's 13th round.
Well, I'll throw mine in because 13th round, I can join in on you guys a little bit here. One of my favorite memories is because I don't like Mayweather is when Shane Mosley fought Mayweather and nearly knocked him down in the second round, nearly, buckled him with that big shot. So you can just watch one round of Mosley versus Mayweather. I mean, Mayweather took over the rest of the fight. But I think you guys are missing a great fight that my personal favorite is Pacquiao versus Marquez. Marquez.
Was that number 4?
Was that?
I think they fought twice on Cinco de Mayo. Marquez, Pacquiao 1 and 4.
I'm talking about 1, the first one.
They fought a lot.
They fought 4 times, and they never had a bad fight.
No. But only 2 of them were Cinco de Mayo weekend.
I'm talking about the first one. that was a war. You want to talk about a war? That was a real life Rocky fight, basically, is what that was. I mean, those guys beat the tar out of each other, and they just wanted to keep going for more. I mean, that was a fun fight to watch. But I think the one that most people will think about when you're thinking Cinco de Mayo is probably I think it is still technically the richest one ever was Mayweather Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Still a lot of controversy around that. Pacquiao got half his blood drained out apparently before the fight. His shoulder was all messed up. I mean, it's hard to throw a punch when you have a separated shoulder or a torn labrum or something like that.
Something like that.
He wasn't allowed to take painkillers, but
couldn't take a shot, and Mayweather was all weird about it, and whatever.
Yeah, and then,
talk to Travis about Mayweather.
Yeah, I mean, I want to touch a little bit about that because that's probably the most famous Cinco de Mayo fight that everyone had because I'm pretty sure that's still the one that's made the most money of all time. So I remember watching it actually at Judge Jimmy James' house with both of you, I think, and that was.
I wasn't there.
You weren't out there that one?
I was in Lakeville.
Sure you were. Okay.
Oh.
I was at Judge Jimmy James' house, and that was when I was really getting back into boxing again a little bit. And I was really let down by that fight. I was really hoping that Pacquiao would, just beat the tar out of Mayweather, but I've always been an anti-Mayweather guy. I felt like that was one of the bigger letdown fights, thinking back about it and thinking afterwards. It just wasn't a good fight for us to watch. It wasn't not what we expected. It was getting that giant present under your Christmas tree that's, in a giant box that's 5 feet high and 4 feet wide, and it's full of underwear, basically, is what it is. That's how I felt about that fight. It's like I was so excited to see it. I was sitting there waiting. I'm waiting, and I open it up. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I need underwear. We needed it to happen, but now I'm just not excited about it anymore. Filthy Rich, what's your memories of Pacquiao versus Mayweather?
Yeah, well, I was in Lakeville. I had Pacquiao winning the fight. It's been said never judge a fight twice. Here's the deal. I'll do this now. I don't think I've ever said this to anyone I've ever known. I made the mistake of watching Kovalev, Andre Ward, the first one. I watched it a second time, and I had Andre Ward winning the second time. But they say never watch a fight the second time. Watch it the first time, score it the first time, and throw it away. Don't ever look at it again. I had Pacquiao winning the first fight or against Mayweather. I'm afraid if I watch it again, I would have Mayweather winning. I didn't have pleasant memories. Again, I briefly touched upon being introduced to Lomachenko and Gilberto Ramirez on the undercards on that. That's all I really got. I think it was one of the biggest letdowns in the history of this sport. I can't think of, and we can make fun of Khan and Canelo, and we can make fun of who's the one on Jimmy James, Cesar Chavez Jr. and Canelo. Salad. We can make fun of those fights. That's Caesar fine. Salad. But there was never any buildup with those guys. With this one, this was a fight in the making for years. That fight was
many years.
That was supposed to be Canelo versus Miguel Cotto. And Floyd, they basically said, Floyd, the only way you get this date is if you fight Pacquiao. And he finally caved and fought Pacquiao. This was one of the biggest fights of probably our lifetime, and it did not live up to the hype. Again, I was in Lakeville. It was what it was. I had Pacquiao winning. I think if I watched it again, Floyd wins, but that's all I got.
So, Jimmy James, you remember watching that fight with me over at your house?
Oh, I do. I remember watching it with you and Seabach and Travis.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the show.
They ain't my friends.
Man, they're your friends.
They're not my friends.
But yeah, man, that was.
Wait a minute, didn't one of them call you last night at 1 in the morning?
I'm kidding.
I mean, it was a fight that was 5 years past when it should have been, man. That's the biggest frustration I have. It just took too long to make that fight. it was still a good fight. I mean, even if, we got the excuses and the injuries and all the rules beforehand, it was still a good fight. I'd have to go back and watch it to see if I disagree with the verdict that Mayweather won, because I mean, he is a slippery son of a bitch. But I mean,
whoa, watch the language.
What's the language, Jimmy James?
Just bleep it.
Watching.
But yeah, man, I mean, it was still a good fight. I definitely agree with Rich. You don't want to keep watching. I mean, you want to watch the same fights that are good, but don't keep grading it over and over and over. Grade it once, throw it away, stick with your gut. Your gut's going to be your first instinct's going to be your best instinct. So I don't know, man.
I remember watching it at your house down there with Travis, our friend Travis, who's a super Mayweather fan.
Mayweather freak.
Not my friend.
Who had him winning every round, And I remember sitting there going,
"Let it go, Rich. Let it go."
I remember sitting there, being a huge Pacquiao fan. I'm still a giant Pacquiao fan, and I'd love to see Pacquiao get his revenge on that one. But I scored it as Mayweather winning it because it was a typical Mayweather fight of, I'm just going to win every round playing defense and not give anyone what they want. There was a few times where Pacquiao landed some punches that got me off of your couch, not just because your couch is one of the most uncomfortable couches in the world, but because it was some good shots. Yeah,
take a shot in the rocking chair.
James' couch. I mean, it is.
It's old. It's old couch.
Yeah, well, it's not as old as that chair, and that chair is probably a lot more comfortable. I'll tell you.
Yes.
But I remember watching it and going, as I said, it's like one of them presents that you were waiting for, and then you turn out it's just underwear. It was very sad to see, because it was like 4 years too late. 4 years too late. Yeah. And that's why that probably is a part of my Mayweather hate, that he's always protected himself so much, not only in the ring, but who he fights and when he fights him, that to keep that undefeated record going as long as possible. And it just doesn't seem right to me. I wish that Pacquiao could fight him again. I wish, they're still old, but Pacquiao's still fighting. He's still elite,
Yep.
And I think he could beat Mayweather right now, obviously. But everything that came out afterwards, just Mayweather. It's like playing your buddy in video games, and it's like, okay, now you have to play with one hand, but you can't use the B button, no turbo. That's just what it was. You're setting all these rules for him that I can do that you can't do. Like he could take. I believe it turned out Mayweather took a painkiller shot before the fight that he didn't let Pacquiao do. They didn't give Mayweather the same blood test that Pacquiao. They demanded it the day of, where he had a pint of blood taken out of him. That's going to take a lot of things out of you, especially as a fighter.
That's a lot of blood.
It is, but I mean, Pacquiao is not one that jumps a lot of weight. As you said, he fights. He doesn't.
An 8 division world champion.
I'm talking about
he jumps weight all over the place.
So I'm talking about on fight day. He's not one to gain 20 pounds after weighing in.
Fair.
That's what I'm talking about. So
Fair.
You lose a lot of blood instead of putting on the weight. You're losing a lot of blood. That's not good for you. It's not good for your endurance. And then coming in with a shoulder injury, I understand that Pacquiao thinks he can fight through it, and there's a lot of money on the line to delay it. But I think we all wanted to see the happy ending of Pacquiao winning that one, being the hero, and we just didn't get it. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. Any final comments on Mayweather Pacquiao, Filthy Rich?
I got a lot. If you want to extend it, this a little bit. So there's a couple things. For one, I think Pacquiao beats Mayweather. For some reason, I think he beats him. Talk about like dodging fights and waiting for these guys to get old. I think Mayweather beats every single one of these old dudes. If it's Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya in De La Hoya's prime, give me Mayweather. Give me Mayweather against everybody. Mayweather's been known to that's why this fight is such a
That's the guy. That's the guy.
This is like such strange circumstances surrounding this thing. Does Pacquiao beat him? Because what were we talking about? 5 years ago? This fight is 5 years too late, or 3 years too late, or whatever it is. I don't know who wins. Maybe Pacquiao, the cortisone shot to the arm. Had there not been a cortisone shot, does Pacquiao win? This fight, I don't know if it's over. Let me tell you this. One of these days, we are going to do a top 10 pound for pound list.
Episode
whether it's
10.
all time, whether it's all time or whether it's just active fighters. I have Pacquiao ranked higher than Mayweather on an all-time list, regardless of what Mayweather has done for his 50-0. Maybe we need to I need to probably just stop. Maybe we need to do a Mayweather Pacquiao show 2021. Or we can maybe we'll find something else. But boy, you opened a can of worms. I need to stop. Jimmy James, what do you got, man?
I don't have too much to add, man. I mean, this is, like I said, the fight was just too many years too late for me. Still a fight I'm going to watch. If it happened again, I'm going to watch it. No problem. No hands down. I'm going to pay for it if I got to pay for it.
You're talking about watching a 53-year-old Tyson fight. You're going to watch Pacquiao Mayweather.
That's for charity.
Yeah, but that's for charity, man. Tyson charity. Of course I'll watch Tyson rip someone's head off. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
I'd watch him fight a chupacabra.
Yeah, that's a tough word. I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't even think he's going to be able to get in the ring with that. But either way, I don't have too much to add. It's already been said. You guys covered a lot of it. But
one other thing that I want to add on Mayweather before I end is another reason I hate Mayweather. I'm just going to throw that out there. Is he always ripped on my favorite fighter, Gennady Golovkin. I mean, Golovkin said, I don't care the weight. I'll fight you wherever you want. Let's do it. And Mayweather constantly talked about how Golovkin is nothing and this and that, but he was never intending to back up his words against him. So it's like even, Golovkin kind of, after Mayweather left or a little bit, Golovkin kind of took over as like the main person people want to watch a lot of the time. He became he's the one that brought me back into the sport, Gennady Golovkin. I loved watching him. I loved listening to him talk. I love his entrance. I love everything about him. I loved his body shots. I loved everything. But Mayweather he plays the villain well. I'll give him that. And I want to watch him lose. I'll give him that. But you got to respect the skills also, as Travis and Seabach would say. You got to respect the skills. The guy does have unbelievable skills. He is one of the
me and Jimmy James say that. Don't bring up names that don't belong on this show. Me and Jimmy James say that same thing. Don't bring them guys into this.
That's fair. But I'm saying those guys are like Mayweather super fans is basically why I brought it.
I don't care.
All right. I'm sorry. We'll stop name dropping. All right. I felt like it was a pretty good 13 round this week. We went pretty long on that one, actually. But, it was about boxing. Cinco de Mayo. It's a big boxing holiday. So, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. If you're still watching, it's a boxing show, and I'm sure you loved every bit of it, because I sure did. All right, let's move on to the question of the week. All right, Filthy Rich, the Filthy Fan question of the week is from Mike from St. Louis Park, and this one's probably going to get you going. The question is, what are your thoughts on Roy Jones Jr.?
Mike? What have you done? As if
we weren't running long at our
Pandora's box.
Yeah, as if the 13th round wasn't long enough. We're going to talk about Roy Jones Jr. I get it. So we'll do it. We'll do another show on Roy Jones another time. Probably. We'll keep this going. My first introduction to Roy Jones Jr. I was a freshman in high school. And there was one guy who talked boxing. I don't know who this guy was. I do know. Actually, I really like the dude. I don't remember his name. But I'm over here talking, Mike Tyson. I was a dumb little punk. I get it. He said, watch out for Roy Jones Jr. And that year, I discovered who it was. I don't want to say my guess is early 90s, 94-ish, 93-ish. The very next year, I said, hey, Roy Jones Jr. He said, no, you need to check out Floyd Mayweather. So that gives this guy his credibility. This guy knew what he was talking about. So Roy Jones Jr. This is probably the first time I'm bringing on some a historical artifact, but I don't know how this is gonna translate on television here. But I've got the Roy Jones Jr. The audio CD with Y'all Must Have Forgot. Anyways. I just want to share. I just want to share a couple stories. One story I have is.
Well, that was a great story right there. I mean, you have the CD.
I have the Roy CD. I haven't been doing this on purpose, but I've been told I lean forward too much. Oh, you lean forward. So
I like it.
Back. And at the same time, leaning back, my little Wu-Tang shirt is showing. Wu-Tang Wednesday tonight. We'll be uploading Thursday. I have a Wu-Tang collection full of like what they call CDs. Kids, it's this thing. It's like
compact
a
disc.
It's like a small version of a vinyl, and you put it in this thing called like a CD player. Let's not get into it. But in my Wu-Tang collection of CDs, there are 2 CDs on like the hip hop level that belong in there. One of them is the John Cena CD. The other one is the Roy Jones CD. Those are the only 2 that I allow with my Wu-Tang CDs. So there's another story. That's not one of the 2 stories I had. Here's the story I had. I have a friend who was like this, he was the next up and coming hip hop star. Look, well, I don't care where you live, Florida, Arizona, California. We all have a friend who's going to be the next hip hop star. This guy, his stage name was Devastation. Well, just so happens Roy Jones got into a ring with a guy whose name was Devastation, and he knocked Devastation out. And on that day, my Devastation friend dropped his Devastation nickname. I'm not even going to give out any names of who he is now, but he's no longer Devastation. Second story. So Roy Jones, when he was
Demolition now?
as he is a pay-per-view star, he is coming out to fight on the night before his birthday, coming out to Redman and Method Man Wu-Tang, and at midnight would be his birthday. And I remember he tried to whale this guy at the last minute, the last second of the 12th round to knock him out at midnight on his birthday. It didn't happen, but those are my 2 memories of Roy Jones Jr. Go watch Lomachenko. I have compared Lomachenko to Roy Jones. They are, I mean, they're close. I'm not going to say one over there, but Roy Jones is the best fighter I have seen that has lived in my lifetime. And I don't think there's ever going to be anyone that surpasses that. Lomachenko's close, but there is no second Roy Jones. There really is.
Let me ask you, what's your favorite Roy Jones Jr. fight then?
Look, there's 2. Here's another story. There was 2 times I quit watching boxing, and I don't know the order. I think the first time I quit watching was when Holyfield Lewis Part 1, where it was clearly Lennox Lewis beating up Evander Holyfield, and went to the scorecards, and it was a draw, and I was done with boxing. I was never going to watch boxing again. The other time is when
I'm glad you changed your mind, by the way.
Roy Jones dropped weight to fight Tarver. I believe he is the only guy. There may be one other guy. I don't think there is, but I think he is the only guy in history to move up from like junior middleweight. He may have even been at middleweight, but I think he was junior middleweight all the way up to win the heavyweight championship. Never said he won the junior middleweight championship. He for sure won the middleweight championship and is the only fighter to move up every division up to heavyweight. And I believe he either beat John Ruiz or David Tua for that heavyweight title. Ruiz. He dropped down to fight Antonio Tarver, and I believe that fight was like January 30th of 2012-ish, something like that. So that Holyfield thing was first. I think it was like 2012, 2010. January 30th, 29th, something like that. He lost to Tarver, and I was like, well, I'm done. I'll never watch boxing again. And I didn't get back into it till 2015. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what I've got for Roy Jones.
Wasn't he the one that got robbed in the Olympics too, right?
Yeah, and I
Olympic
believe,
robberies of all time.
I believe it was either the Korean government or because I was in Seoul, Korea, I believe it was '88. Either the Korean government or the USOC had issued an apology. We're talking within the last 10 years or so. They have issued an apology, and I don't know if he ever got his gold medal. I think he did, but he for sure got robbed. But we don't like Olympics. Olympics are fun to watch, but you can't take them too seriously. That's where you find the diamonds in the rough. Floyd got robbed. Michael Conlon, I mentioned a week ago, got robbed. It happens in the Olympics. Again, we talked about drug testing and how Olympic testing is fraudulent. He got robbed, and I believe he got revenge, or he got an apology, whatever it may be.
Well, I remember I watched something, I believe it was on ESPN. They had a story about it, and it actually, the guy that won that fight from the judges, it actually ruined his life. He went into big depression about it because he was getting letters every day about, how it's fixed and this and that. And I think he was like a high school teacher or something like that. I gotta go back and look. That was years ago and I watched it, but I remember it ruined his life. And he's saying, I didn't win the fight. I didn't know what was going on. I was hugging him because I assumed he won. And they said it was me. I'm like, I didn't understand it, but yeah, it's Roy Jones Jr. He was one hell of a fighter to watch. He was a lot of fun to watch too. He was one of them, was like, when he's fighting, we're getting it. Even if you weren't a boxing fan, you would tune in and buy the pay-per-view of Roy Jones Jr.
That is very true. That is very, very true.
He was one of them guys
in the
like,
casual.
it didn't even matter if you were a boxing fan. Roy Jones Jr. is fighting. It's an event. You're going to get it. You're going to get that fight. And you're going to watch it. Judge Jimmy James, do you have any comments about Roy Jones Jr.? I know you liked him back in the day as well.
He's good. He's good, man. I don't have nothing else to comment on that. You guys covered a lot of stuff. He's a Hall of Famer.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
He'll be in the top 10 pound for pound, no problem.
Still fighting to this day. He hasn't retired yet. I think he's almost 60 years old. He's still fighting.
He's retired, man. He's been doing commentary on the sidelines. He's retired, but
no, he fought. He fought recently. He fought I think it was 6 months ago. He fought.
Yeah, he hasn't retired. He's still fighting. He's active.
Yeah,
he's not
active. You're crazy.
No, he's still licensed and he's still fighting. Yeah,
he's still fighting. That's not made up. He's still fighting.
Literally, he's fighting. He fought. I think it was 6 months ago. He just fought.
His last fight was in 2018.
No, he hasn't won a fight probably since 2018. But
his last fight was in 2018.
No,
unless these aren't sanctioned.
He was fighting. They're not sanctioned anymore. He's fighting exhibitions. I think he fought the last one in China. I think is what it was. It's like 6 months.
None of them sell out. I mean,
I don't know, man. His last fight, his last registered fight was in 2018.
Yeah,
which ain't that long ago, man. Yeah, he's old as shit. He's been playing a lot.
What's your language on? My grandma.
I am a sailor. 2018. But either way, man, he's been fighting for years, since 89.
160.
Came in 89. I think that's ridiculous.
He's the new Joe Louis. He's 147 years old. 147 years old. All right. Mike, thanks for your question. Also, if you have a question for Filthy Rich, you can put it in the comments below on our Twitter, Brews&Boxing, or you can put it on the Raider Live YouTube page or the Raider Live Facebook page. And if your question is awesome, which most of them are, actually 99% of them are, they'll probably be on the show. So please put them in there, and Filthy Rich will answer your question. All right, we'll move on to the fight of the week. Let me ring the bell here. I don't have it up there. All right, Judge Jimmy James, what's your fight of the week?
Well, next week is super welterweights?
Yes, we are doing super welterweights for the Filthy Five next week for Filthy Rich to try to get his revenge.
Well, my fight of the week, it was tough between two, and I'm not going to give out any outcomes of this, but my fight of the week is Jarrett Hurd versus Julian Williams. If you want to see two people go at it with a ton of heart and see the ending of that fight, that was a good fight. That was a good fight. It's a sloppy fight. I'll give it that, but
not a lot of
still
technical
a good
stuff
fight.
in that fight.
No, it's like I said, it's a sloppy fight. But if we're talking about super welterweights, that's going to be my fight of the week to watch: Jarrett Hurd versus Julian Williams.
What do you think of that one, Filthy Rich? You like that fight?
I think it's spot on. I remember watching this fight, a PBC fight. This is only a few years ago, and like right down the middle. Like you kind of feel like you know who's gonna win because we know what the sport's all about. But round for round, I mean, I think I scored it a draw. I don't think it was not fair one way or another, but I scored it a draw. I thought it was a fun fight to watch for some super middleweights. They threw a lot of punches. They may have not landed like, what about the landing punches? Let's not worry about the landing punches. Let's worry about offense for now. And they threw lots of punches. It was right down the middle. Every round was close. Just like this super middleweight rankings we did, any one of these guys could have been number one. These two guys going into next week could easily be the number one in our rankings. You'll have to tune in and find out, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely do tune in next week. Actually, tune in every week. They're released on Thursdays. We film it on Wednesdays. Also, we have trivia on Saturdays, and then every other Friday we have theme night trivia. Last week we did Parks and Rec. We had a great time. So if you're a big Parks and Rec fan, please tune in and watch that. And we had trivia. We had a little hiccup this week on trivia. I don't know what that is, but hopefully we'll figure it out. But we do it every Saturday. We have a good time. Brews&Boxing, always uploaded on Thursdays. Can't wait. Filthy Rich, Judge Jimmy James, it's a pleasure being with you guys every week. I look forward to this every week. It's my favorite show to film. You guys did another marvelous job. Absolutely marvelous job with your Filthy Five and all your news, your 13th round, your questions, your fight of the week. Everything you guys do is elite. Top rank. Top rank. Can I say that without being copyrighted? I don't know. We'll call it top rank.
Give me watch out for Aram.
I'll pay him off. I'll pay him off like Jimmy James paid you off.
Well, we all know that Judge Jimmy James is checks. He doesn't write checks. He pays it in cash. And maybe that was the problem because, checks you have to wait on. Cash, you can spend any time. All right. For Filthy Rich and Judge Jimmy James, I'm Raider Live. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next week. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you later.